This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Thursday, June 13th, 2024, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will have the latest edition of Between the Pods. I will be joined by Corey Goodhue. He is the District 5 Director with the Iowa Soybean Association, as we will preview the upcoming Summer Soy Series. But first, let's run down the closing markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined now by Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net for our closing market coverage. Kaden, what did we see happen in the ag markets today?
Yeah, following yesterday's WASDE report, the trade was pretty interested to see, where we want to go. And good news, it was up, at least for today. Corn, beans, and wheat all higher today. That WASDE report yesterday was largely a non-factor. It kept a lot of the balance sheets the same from last month. And so the trade pretty quickly transferred from, watching the WASDE to watching weather again. And when you look across the Corn Belt, a lot of hot and dry forecasts here over the next 7 to 10 days. And the market took that as an opportunity to buy today.
And Kaden, also, if there just wasn't a lot changed in the report, sometimes don't the traders look at that as a good thing, as just kind of able to move on from the report, basically?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of get some of that volatility out of the way and the what if factor. Typically like these June reports, when we've got the acres report and the quarterly stocks report waiting for us at the end of the month, a lot of times those WASDEs, in those particular months are a little bit more quiet just because the trade's so nervous for what's coming at the end of the month. That'll be the one that really matters. So we at least have 2 weeks here of weather in anticipation for that acre report. I think it's on the 28th this year, the way the calendar falls, but that'll be the big one for sure.
And like you said, we do know that is an important report coming up at the end of the month. Could you remind us, please, though, just what exactly we'll be looking forward to finding out at the end of this month, and that report that really does go a long way in what happens in the ag marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is just going to be what planted acres actually are. So, at the end of the March, we get the planting intentions, if you will, what people plan to plant. And then, how the spring goes, depending on weather and so forth. At the end of June here, we figure out what actually got planted. And so, that certainly plays a big role in the balance sheet of the year, how much supply we have. If you have more acres, that's harmful to prices. And if you have less acres, that's less supply. And that's a good thing for prices. So that's the big one that the market watches for. You also get a look at quarterly stocks, which is basically how much grain is on hand. But when that report comes, the acres will be the big topic.
And I would imagine right now as well, the weather going to play a factor, as at least here in Iowa, it is expected to be very dry and very hot for the next short-term forecast. What's it going to be like in Illinois? And have you looked at the rest of the Corn Belt? What are we expecting?
Yeah, it feels pretty similar. We've got some small chances of rain scattered throughout, but nothing real substantial, and we're getting right up there in the mid 90s. So starting to feel a little bit like it did last year. And if you remember, market went on a pretty hot streak. We got it close to $1 on new crop corn during that time. It was rallying right now. This point in the calendar last year, so we're a little bit behind that schedule. But I don't know that anybody really is necessarily anticipating the same market as we had last year. But the moral of the story is, you get into a weather market and hot and dry, the market likes to buy and step in there. Can get a little bit volatile for sure.
On the other side of the ag marketplace, Kaden, we know that the livestock kind of took a backseat here over the past couple of days, but what did we see in the protein sector?
Yeah, largely fairly quiet, although fat cattle did have a good day. I'm looking at the August contract up over $1 again, and feeders really were down pretty hard early in the session and closed back close to even. So the cattle market looks pretty good. I feel like we've kind of rebounded off of the sell-off from last week and looking pretty good going forward. I think the fundamental story there still remains bullish going forward, and it's going to chop around like it does, but I think you feel fairly decent about the cattle market going forward. Hogs just continue to be pretty range bound here in those low 90s. Today we're down about $1 on the July contract. So, in my opinion, the hog market probably taking a bit of a backseat to cattle as well, just because of how sideways it's been lately.
I think most of the talk, Kaden, has been that we're still a little bit of a ways from rebuilding the cattle herd, but have you seen any indication yet that we have started that process at all?
I really haven't, and I rely pretty heavily on Ross, our cattle guy in our company, and he's kind of saying the same thing. Fundamentals certainly bullish, and just hard to really when you're just looking at the supply picture, hard to find reason for it to sell off hard. It doesn't really feel like we've started rebuilding that herd yet, and until that happens, like you're alluding to, you're going to feel fairly decent about prices staying supported.
He is Kaden Sweeney with agmarket.net, our guest here on the show. Kaden, what's the best way for our listeners to get in touch, our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information?
Yeah, man, just go to our website, agmarket.net, and you can find everything you need from there. You could take a trial on our new app and new website, all that. Pretty sharp, really. It's been a lot of work going into that thing, and it's pretty cool. So be sure to go check that out for sure.
A lot of great resources from the team at agmarket.net. Kaden, thanks so much for the time and have a great rest of your week.
I appreciate it, man. You guys too.
Thank you once again to Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. Hasn't been on the show lately because he's been busy farming, but we thank Kaden for joining us here today. Let's turn our attention now to the closing numbers, which can be found under the markets tab of our website at iowaagnet.com. July corn closes up 4 1/4 at 458.5. July soybeans up 12 1/4 at 1189.5. July soybean meal up $8.10 at 368.30. July soybean oil up 7 cents at 43.86. Chicago wheat up 3 even at 620 even. Minneapolis wheat down 1 1/4 at 667 even. Kansas City hard red wheat down a half cent at 636 3/4. July oats down 2 1/4 at 328.5. On the Merc, June live cattle up $1.17 at 184.82. August feeder cattle down 10 cents at 257.47. July lean hogs down 92 cents at 92.77. July pork cutout unchanged at 103.45. Class 3 milk is up 12 cents at 19.89. That does it for our closing market coverage here for Thursday. It's time now to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soybean Checkoff. And when we come back, it is the latest edition of Between the Pods, as I will be joined by Corey Goodhue, District 5 Director with the ISA.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
You're watching Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and it is time now for Between the Pods with Corey Goodhue, District 5 Director of the Iowa Soybean Association. This is Ag Matters PM.
It's time to go between the pods with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network and the Iowa Soybean Association. For the next year, we will explore the ways Iowa-grown soybeans are making a difference at home and around the world. Now, here's your host of Between the Pods, Mark Magnuson.
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm here with Corey Goodhue, and we are here to talk about the Summer Soy Series, which we look forward to every summer. Corey, thanks so much for taking the time to join us. And before we get into what we're going to talk about here today, I want to remind everyone, Summer Soy Series will take place end of this month across Iowa, June 25th through the 27th. June 25th in Manchester and Fort Dodge, June 26th, Williamsburg and Osceola, and then June 27th, head up to Northwest Iowa and Western Iowa with Lamar's and Council Bluffs. And Corey, for the Summer Soy Series, I think it's a great chance just for everyone to see that's involved exactly what ISA is always working hard to do, which is, of course, to drive up that demand for soybeans, to see those new uses for soybeans. What have you learned about this series and getting ready for it this year?
Well, I think the first thing I love to talk about is the ISA. For every $1 of checkoff money that's put into it, we give $12.34 back to the farmer. I think that's pretty cool. And definitely the Soy Series is a great opportunity for people to come and see like what we're doing, give their input, and be a part of that process.
And Corey, I know that soybean farmers probably hear those statistics a lot, but do you think that sinks in, that much return on investment when you're always trying to drive those things that only help soybean producers to get that much back? It's pretty significant.
Yeah, so we had a good meeting this morning talking about some of the different programs we'd like to fund in this budget year with like export of meal and soy and developing, we called it like your base hit export markets. So I think as a group of farmers, that get the opportunity to kind of help guide a really awesome organization, there's some huge opportunity to combine our resources and do positive things like that.
And Corey, remind us, please, your involvement in the ISA right now. What is your title and what are your job responsibilities with ISA?
Director from District 5 here in central Iowa. I guess I just do what I'm told.
And do you like that, kind of being in a leadership position now in this part of the state?
I've been really fortunate that there's a lot of other great directors on the ISA board that have been really good mentors, brought me along. It's a new thing for me to kind of take on some of these leadership roles, but I've really enjoyed it.
From your perspective as a farmer as well, when we think about Summer Soy Series, all those things we've talked about in terms of getting that return on investment, whether it's research, new uses for soybeans, those types of things, those are really, at the macro level, the across the country level. And yet here we are on your farm today here in southern Iowa. And to think about that, going from a farm like this to all across the United States, those uses across the world, it's just a pretty cool thing to put all in perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I think the neatest part about the Soybean Association as a director is it really has broadened my perspectives on, global agriculture and like the huge reach that you have from like a little town like Carlisle. Boy, how far our soybeans really go. Also, it's been a great thing to collaborate with the other like state qualifying boards, and to see what we can do when we, pool our resources and our efforts.
And for those who know ISA well, for those who don't, going to be some great speakers. You will hear from the Chief Officer of Research and Conservation, that's Christy Wiebeck. Also going to have farm policy and updates from Chief Officer of Demand and Advocacy, Matt Herman, and others. And I mean, when those authority figures, on soybeans and all of their uses, all the hard work they're doing, when they get up in front of the mic, it seems like you always learn something.
Yeah, absolutely. I respect Christy and Matt a lot. They're some tremendously hardworking people, and they've really worked hard to put together a great team, and bring the most value to us as farmers.
In your talks with other farmers, either in this area or just around the state, what do they think about the work that ISA does and continues to get that, return on investment like we talked about? Because that takes a lot of hard work.
I think maybe my challenge to most growers would be go to meetings like this and learn about it. I think too often it's not viewed positively because they don't always see that impact. It just doesn't show the way some things do. And I hope folks can make it out and see it.
You mentioned, being lucky enough to be involved in a lot of events with ISA, but Corey, what led you to want to get involved and really be a director and part of ISA?
Many years ago, one of the folks reached out to us. We were part of the District Advisory Council. And then we've been doing on-farm research with them. Like we have some nitrogen trials and some soy population trials this year. And so guys like Alex Schaefer come out and really help empower us to do our own research and learn, what drives our profitability.
It has to be very cool to see in person on your own operation. What was that like for you?
It was pretty neat. I would encourage a lot of people to try it. Like Alex has done a great job, and his team making it as painless as possible. I mean, he does a great job sending these prescriptions to us and helping us, over the phone, or even, we're close enough to the office they can kind of sneak down if we're in a real bind. But it's been a great experience, and I would encourage anybody that, has a good local contact to leverage that.
And I would imagine that would be one of the barriers of entry. You're thinking, well, how much extra work goes into it? But if, like you said, they're right there with you every step of the way, that probably makes it a pretty seamless process.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, they've done because they've learned so much over the years working with other producers, and we all know it's crunch time, whether that's, fertilizing our crop or planting our crop. And so it really was a painless process. I mean, in the data collection, the technology we have really helps facilitate that as well.
And for anyone who wants to get signed up still, you can visit iasoybeans.com. Registration is open until June 17th. And then again, those 3 dates that we have, June 25th, Manchester and Fort Dodge, June 26th, Williamsburg and Osceola, and then June 27th, meeting in Lamars and Council Bluffs. It is the Summer Soy Series, and again, it's those dollars at work, and getting to see that in the flesh, very valuable for farmers. We encourage everyone to attend who's thinking about doing so, or maybe if you're just learning about this right now. And then Corey, to wrap up here today, is there anything else you'd like to let our viewers, our listeners know about when it comes to the Summer Soy Series other than just getting involved?
Yeah, I think they put together a good lineup of dates and locations to help folks. It's been a tough spring for a lot of folks in Iowa, so the hope is that the different dates and locations can accommodate a big group of people and their schedules.
And then Corey here, just to wrap up, of course we're out here on your farm. We got to ask a little agronomy update. What has the spring been like for you this year in a very wet spring?
Well, we're planting post-spraying, and fertilizing all on the same day, if that tells you how much fun we're having.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been a busy spring, and it continues to stay busy for you. He is Corey Goodhue, again, the District 5, correct, Director? District 5 Director here in Carlisle in southern Iowa. And Corey, thanks so much for taking the time. Thanks for inviting us out to your farm, and best of luck with the Summer Soy Series.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you to Corey Goodhue for joining us on today's show for Between the Pods. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and TikTok. And you can find our video content and previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. Also, don't forget our free morning, midday, and closing market podcast, which are found on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. On behalf of Quentin Slater, Riley Smith, Dustin Huffman, and Andy Peterson, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.